You probably think you're being productive because your calendar is packed and your to-do list is a mile long. But what if I told you you could be incredibly busy and make zero progress? You can work 12-hour days and answer every email and still end up exactly where you started. Because being busy is not the same as being effective. If you're tired of running on the hamster wheel of busyness, being exhausted but not fulfilled, being active but not advancing, then this video is for you. I'm going to show you how to ditch the overwhelm, command your day like the woman that God created you to be, and start making real progress on the life that He's called you to live. I'm Rossi, and I help women upgrade their mindset and their mission while growing deeper in God. Today, I'm breaking down 5 powerful shifts that will help you escape the busyness trap and start making progress that actually matters. So let's start with this. You can be incredibly efficient at doing things that don't matter. There's a massive difference between being busy and making progress. See, busyness is seductive. It can make you feel really important, like you're doing all the things, like everyone is depending on you. It makes you feel like you're incredibly accomplished. But busyness is really productivity's evil twin. It mimics the real thing while stealing your peace, your focus, and your future. Progress, on the other hand, is intentional movement toward your goals and your God-given calling. It's not about how many things you do. It's about doing the things that actually move your life forward. Most of us are drowning in what I like to call fake productivity. We are confusing motion with progress. The difference between people who actually make progress and people who get stuck in the busyness trap is not talent, luck, or even time management. It's clarity. It's knowing the difference between what is urgent and what is important. It's understanding that your time and your energy are sacred resources and they deserve to be stewarded wisely. So here's the first point. I want you to command your day. That's right. Command your day. Don't let your day command you. Most of us wake up in reactive mode. We grab our phones, we check our emails, we start scrolling on social media, and then we begin to try to put out the fires. We start our day by letting the world set our agenda. We are responding to everyone else's priorities instead of pursuing our own. Either you will run your day or your day will run you. And when you start your day without intention, you end your day without impact. You become a victim of circumstances instead of a steward of the goals for that day. God did not create us to live reactively. He created us to live on purpose. So how do you command your day? Well, the first thing is you start by getting rest. And I know that sounds backwards. You're like, you start your day with rest, but actually it starts the night before with getting rest. And we know that God commands us to rest. That's also a part of the busyness trap because we start doing things in our own strength. But rest says, God, I trust you. Rest says, God, I believe that you're with me. So I don't have to be on 24/7. I can take a pause and rest because I know that you're with me. Psalm 127:2 reminds us, it is useless for you to work so hard from early morning until late at night, anxiously working for food to eat, for God gives rest to those He loves. So get a good night's sleep so you can wake up refreshed. You can start your day with intention. You can spend a few moments with God even before you get out of bed. Now, that's one thing that has been a little bit of a game changer for me. I never was able to find the time. Like I had a desire to spend time with God or to start my day with prayer, worship, anything spiritual, right? And I just seemed like I couldn't fit it in my schedule. And so I developed a habit of before I get out of bed, I just spend a few minutes just talking to God, thanking Him for the day, asking Him to guide, right? And I always do that before I even touch my phone. So that way I don't get overwhelmed by the day before I at least take that pause and spend just a few minutes with God at the beginning of the day. And here's another tip that has been helping me command the day. I actually assign different tasks to different days. And that way I'm not going back and forth trying to get all the things done on my to-do list. I'm saying, okay, Thursday, I'm, doing content creation, or Tuesday, that's when I'm going to do all the things that have to do with house ministry, right? And so I'm able to command my day by actually assigning different days, different tasks. It'll also give you clarity in your schedule. When you give structure to your week, you stop being all over the place. You stop feeling scattered and start feeling centered. Remember Proverbs 16:9. We can make our plans, but the Lord determines our steps. So like I said, spend a little bit of time each morning to command your day. And then make sure you're stopping, you're pausing to give God free reign to interrupt whatever you have planned, right? To say, God, lead me and guide me on this day. And after you do that, you can go about your day with intention. Another way to command your day is to speak affirmations. I've created an affirmation guide full of scriptures that will help you begin your day speaking God's truth over your time and your purpose. And that's available at the link in the description. Number 2, escape the busyness trap. What I've realized is busyness is like fool's gold. From far away, it looks really shiny, but when you get up close, it's actually worthless. The truth is, 80% of your results come from just 20% of your work. That means if you're spending the bulk of your time on the wrong things, you could be doing that and not getting any results. But that line from earlier comes back up here. Don't confuse activity with achievement. Remember, busyness is addictive because sometimes you get that dopamine high, like you're crossing stuff off your list, but it's not actually equaling real progress. And sometimes busyness can be a mask for inefficiency, or sometimes even for procrastination, because you can be putting off the really important things and just doing a bunch of checklist items to make yourself feel like you're still making progress. Meanwhile, you're not actually doing the things that matter. So I want you to learn the difference between motion and activity. Again, avoid being in constant motion but not moving forward. It's the difference between actually taking a walk and being on a treadmill, right? You're in motion the whole time, both ways, but one actually takes you somewhere. Progress is the actual implementation that leads to results. So when you look at your to-do list, you have to think of it in terms of, okay, is what I'm doing moving me forward, or is it just wasting a lot of time? Progress is completing the tasks that matter and hitting milestones, because having a busy life doesn't actually mean you're having a productive one. All right, point number 3. Win the day. Most people have a to-do list, and that was me up until recently. I had a to-do list as well, but now I have a win list. I don't want to be told what to do. I want to be told how to win. My to-do list used to loom over me like a boogeyman. Like I could always just see it in the background, all the little tasks that I had to do. And every time I was trying to do something else, I kind of had that thing in the background. Nope, but I got this to do and that to do. And my to-do list some days would be like 20, task long, and I never was able to make progress. And then I would get stressed out because it just seemed like the list would get longer and longer every day. Can any of you guys relate to that? Think about it. How many times did you do all the emails and a bunch of tasks, and then you looked, and by the end of the day, you had a lot of things checked off your list, but you really hadn't made any progress. You really didn't get to tackle the things that was the most important, right? That's the to-do list trap. It keeps you really busy, but it doesn't ask the most important question. Is this moving me closer to my goals, or is this just keeping me occupied? So that is why I moved to the win list. So this is how it works. Every night, I try to think about the top 3 things that I need to do the next day to have won the day. So instead of my 20 tasks, 10 tasks, 15 tasks, depending on the day, whatever, I try to think of the 3 most important things that if I do them the next day, I will have won the day. Instead of getting bogged down about all the things I had to accomplish that I knew I wasn't going to get to, I focus on 3 most important tasks. Some days I hit all 3 and some days I hit only 1. But over time, this shift has done more than any of my task apps or my planners. So you can create your daily 3 by asking the question, what 3 tasks would make me feel like I won the day, even if that's all I get done? And these aren't just any tasks. These are tasks that actually move you forward. These are the things you want to prioritize above everything else. Everything else can wait, not because the other things are unimportant, but because when you focus more, you accomplish more. Number 4, choose the better thing. Remember, we talked about some things are going to move our lives forward and some things are going to just keep us busy. The difference is having wisdom. You have to discern what's the best use of your time and your energy. And that reminded me of the story of Mary and Martha. These are sisters who were hosting a visit with Jesus. And Martha was busy cooking, cleaning, and hosting, and she's doing all the busy bee things. But Mary chose to pause and sit down at Jesus' feet and listen to his teaching. And when Martha started complaining that her sister wasn't helping her in her busyness, this is what Jesus said. But few things are needed, or indeed only one. Mary has chosen what is better, and it will not be taken away from her. See, choosing the better thing is not about being lazy or not taking responsibility. It's about choosing wisely what deserves your focus. Martha was busy with good things, but Mary was focused on the better thing. So again, thinking back to that daily 3, I want you to ask yourself before you start filling up your list, ask yourself these questions. Will this matter weeks or months from now? What creates the most impact on my life? And does this task align with my goals and my calling? And I know what you're thinking. You're like, okay, but you're talking about big things, but some things just have to be done. Laundry and meal prep and grocery pickups and soccer and all the other things. Everything doesn't have to pass the impact test. We know that there's going to be some things that just have to get done. Some things are just life maintenance, but the key is knowing the difference between life tasks and mission tasks. There are some things that you need to be doing to keep you on mission. When we talk about the 80-20 rule, right? We want to flip it. We want to make sure 80% of what you're doing is going towards your goals and the things that actually give you progress. And then the 20% should be on the maintenance tasks, the things that just have to be done. We'll talk a little bit later about how you can make sure you have time for those things as well. Remember this, where your attention goes, that is where your time goes. So stop giving your best energy to the things that matter the least. Number 5, master the art of the pause. Your mind is constantly racing. You're going from one thing to the next thing, from one notification to the next notification, that thing that needs to be followed up to that email, right? And there is something about understanding when you need to just take a break and take a pause. When you're living in mental chaos, that's another way that your progress stops. Because you can't even, when you're in chaos, your body, even mentally, you begin to shut down. Plus, every time you go from one task to the next task to the next task, you're actually losing time, because every time you shift from one task to another, your brain needs time to refocus. So what if slowing down could actually speed up your results? Science proves that taking purposeful breaks doesn't only refresh you, it enhances creativity. It helps with decision making. It's like hitting the refresh button on your computer, right? When you take that pause, it just makes everything run smoother. So then how do we create these pauses in our day? I like to do a 45-minute session followed by a 10-minute break. And what that allows me to do is really go focus hard on a task, go into deep work, right? So my mind is ultra focused. I'm concentrating on one particular task for 45 minutes. And then I know at the end of that, I'm going to get that 10-minute break. I reset, go to the bathroom, get a drink, grab a snack, whatever I need to do. And then I restart my timer for another 45-minute session. Now, everybody's going to be a little different. Some people say I can only do 25. You have to do what works for you. But if you build that time in, what that's going to allow you to do, remember, we have those 3 major things on our list, right? You're going to have big chunks of time where you can really focus in on those goals. And then at the end of the day, 45 minutes or whatever your timer is, where you're going to focus on maintenance tasks that have to get done. That's, paying the bill or ordering the grocery, delivery or, whatever those things are. You can create a block of time where you're just going to do all the tedious and mundane things, even things like, replying to emails, right? So if you give yourself those big chunks of time and then follow that up by a break, you are actually building in focus and time for a pause into your day. The goal here isn't to fill every single moment with activity. It's to fill every moment with intention. So have a time for focused work and then give yourself time for a scheduled break. All right, so let's bring this all together. I want you to command your day with intention, right? Break out of the busyness trap. Realize when you're just in motion, but you're not making progress. Take a pause, look at all the things you're doing and say, okay, am I moving forward? You're going to have your daily 3 where you figure out what are the 3 most important things that you need to do that day. And then schedule those strategic breaks. Make sure you're choosing the better thing when we make decisions about what's going on that list. And then, like I said, make sure you have some time for breaks to do a reset and a refresh so that you can refocus and be strategic in your next task. All right. Well, that's been it. I hope you enjoyed this one. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. And remember, if you change your mind, you'll change your life.